The LA Kings get a signature win. The perfect road record is still intact, and the captain hits a couple of big milestones. All that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a positive comment on Apple Podcasts if you're a fan of the show, and we are on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 17 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. The LA Kings get their biggest win of the season with a convincing 4-1 victory in Las Vegas over the defending Stanley Cup champion Golden Knights. LA improves to 7-0 on the road. It is the fourth longest road winning streak to start a season in NHL history. The record's 10. Kings hand the top team of the NHL this season their first regulation home loss and improved to 8-2-2 for 18 points. Feeling very good about the LA Kings' big win, and we're going to talk a lot about it. But first, in case you missed the game, a brief recap. Now, both teams started off this game, I thought, very tentative to some respects. I thought it was a very tight checking, evenly played game, almost like I love to use boxing analogies, almost like a couple of heavyweights kind of feeling each other out, but looking to not make a mistake. I think both teams were pretty cautious early, and that's probably why we had a scoreless opening period. But in the second period, the Kings would grab the lead thanks to Adrian Kempe. Defenseman Jordan Spence would fire a shot on net from the point. The rebound came to Kempe, who scored to make it 1-0 for Kempe, his fifth goal of the season. Not long after, Anze Kopitar drew a tripping penalty. Again, Jordan Spence firing a shot from the point. This time, Trevor Moore with a beautiful deflection into the net to make it 2-0 Kings for Moore, his seventh goal of the season. Into the third period, the Kings would cash in again with the man advantage. Adrian Kempe threw a shot on net. It went wide, but the rebound off the end boards went right to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who put it in, his fourth of the season, and the Kings had what seemed to be a commanding 3-0 lead. Vegas's William Karlsson would spoil Cam Talbot's shutout bid with about 5.5 minutes to play and give the Golden Knights a little bit of life, but the Kings did a good job of clamping down thereafter. And Anze Kopitar would put it into an empty net for his seventh goal of the season and the 400th of his Hall of Fame career. And the Kings skate off with a 4-1 victory. As for the game stats in this one, maybe a little misleading. Vegas did outshoot LA 38-33. The Kings did have a big advantage on special teams. They went 2 for 4 on the power play and killed off both of the Golden Knights' 2 power play opportunities. Vegas did win the faceoff battle 34-27. They had more block shots than LA, 28-17, and more hits, 15-11. But the Kings won the game, and they did it by coming up with timely goals. And the Kings, like the first matchup against Vegas, proved not only could they go toe-to-toe with the best team in the NHL, the defending Stanley Cup champs, but they could beat them on their home ice. And again, the Kings capitalizing on their opportunities to get what I feel is, without question, the biggest win of the season. I called it a signature win. Now, what does that mean? Well, to me, that is a win that proves to everyone that the Kings are right now legit. It proves to the media, to the fans, to the Kings' opponents, and maybe to the Kings themselves, that they are among the best teams in the NHL. And it was something I wondered a little bit about with the Kings, even with the impressive road record and some of the things they've done. But they weren't able to beat, before last night, Vegas, Boston, Colorado, the teams who are right now the top teams in the NHL. And until they did that, I thought it was fair to be skeptical, critical of whether the Kings could really play and beat the top teams in the NHL. Well, they proved it last night. we talked about this being a big game, circled it in Las Vegas against a team that, again, has the best record in the NHL, the most points right now in the NHL, a team that had yet to lose in regulation on home ice, a team that is leading the Pacific Division, a team that had already beaten the Kings earlier this year. And without a doubt, to me, the LA Kings proved that they are capable of beating anyone in the league with that victory over Vegas. I know Vegas had a few little injury issues, but I don't think any excuses. They've been playing a high level of hockey with whatever issues they have, and the Kings flat out beat them fair and square in their building and were the better team. And it's one thing to think you can be amongst the best teams in the NHL and beat the best teams in the NHL. It's another thing to know you can do it because you did it. And that's what the LA Kings did. So very excited, obviously, about the Kings win. And as we do after every game, we talk about what we liked and maybe what we didn't like. Was there anything not to like about that game? Well, we'll talk about that later. But is it wrong for me to say I liked everything about that game last night? Now, granted, the Kings didn't play a perfect game. Nobody does. There's no such thing as a perfect game. There's always things you can improve on. There's always mistakes made. But I just thought it was a very solid all-around game for the LA Kings. It starts defensively, the way they were able to limit the Golden Knights to pretty much shots from the perimeter, nothing in those high danger areas really to speak of. The goaltending was great from Cam Talbot. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But he had timely saves, and the Kings had timely goals. The Kings, again, a great mix up and down the lineup, everybody contributing from Adrian Kempe to Jordan Spence. This was a great team victory for the LA Kings. And again, just a solid all-around win. This was not any kind of a fluke. They were the better team last night, and they were rewarded with a fairly convincing victory. Vegas had their shots, but the Kings, again, were able to weather the storm in those few moments where Vegas had a little momentum, but a great team win. Everything is clicking right now for the Kings. Again, now they have to prove they can follow up a big win like this by not letting up, by not playing down to their competition. We'll get more into that when we preview the game tonight against the Penguins, but just a great all-around night for the LA Kings and a great night for Anze Kopitar. The captain had a goal and an assist. He gets 400 career goals. He's the fourth player in Kings history to reach that number, joining Luc Robitaille, Marcel Dion, and Dave Taylor. Kopitar also joined Alexander Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, and Evgeny Malkin as the fifth player in NHL history to score at least 400 goals with the franchise that drafted them. Kopitar also now has 1,154 points, tied with Luc Robitaille for the second most points in franchise history. He has 754 assists now. He's 3 away from tying Marcel Dion's franchise record for assists in a career with the LA Kings. I've said it before. This is opinion, not a fact. But for me, Anze Kopitar, when it's all said and done, is going to be the greatest LA King in history. And he's already in that discussion. And as I said on Tuesday's show, he's not ready for the farewell tour or the farewell season. He is still playing at a high level. He is tied for the team leading goals with 7. He's second on the team in points with 13, one behind Adrian Kempe. It would have been nice to have seen him get the 400th goal at home. Maybe a little bit nicer for it not to go into an empty net, but all small details. Congratulations to Anze Kopitar on a big night, on a special night, coming in a big win. And I don't think it's too much of wishful thinking to see this special season for Anze Kopitar maybe culminate in him lifting the Stanley Cup over his head as the captain of the LA Kings. Of course, that was Dustin Brown's honor for the 2 Stanley Cup wins for the Kings. But now, look, there's a lot of work to be done between now and then. But I don't think it's unrealistic for Kings fans right now in the moment to feel like this could be a special team and this could be a special season. I thought that was a special win over the Vegas Golden Knights last night, but still a lot of work to be done. But it's not, I don't think anyone should feel bad about feeling great about that win last night for the LA Kings over the Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to get into the night that Kings goalie Cam Talbot had. We're going to pass out our 3 stars. And was there anything that we didn't like about that game against the Golden Knights? That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. We spend a lot of time together talking, you and I. We get fired up about wins and losses, who starts and who sits, and I'm thankful for the connection that we have. And perhaps you feel a little bit more comfortable with me talking to you about something that may be of a personal nature to you. Whether you're on an extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage, you're covered, my friend, thanks to our partners at Jace Medical. Life-saving antibiotics with a long list of daily medications that be ordered in a 1-year supply. Even ED generics for Cialis, Viagra, and Revatrio. Prescriptions, you can go online right now at jacemedical.com. Receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember, use a promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace, quote, "I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a 1-year supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit, and I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone." End quote. If you or someone you love would like some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily meds, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use the promo code Locked On for $20 off of your purchase. Well, LA Kings goalie Cam Talbot had another big night, turning aside 37 of 38 shots on goal to improve to 7-2-1 on the season, and he has backstopped LA to all 7 of their wins on the road. This year, he lowered his goals against average to 2.03. That's currently 7th best in the NHL, and he raised his save percentage to .930, currently 8th best in the NHL. And Cam Talbot looks locked in right now. He is confident. He's comfortable in net. He's getting solid support from his teammates. His rebound control has been good. He's seeing the puck well. When he was called on to make some key saves against the Golden Knights, he made them. There was one moment in the first period where he was scrambling around a bit in net, but he was able to keep the puck out. And I thought maybe his best moment of the game came late in the first period with the game still scoreless. Made a big save on former King Michael Amadio. He followed that up with a big save on Alex Pietrangelo, and then another save on former Kings defenseman Alec Martinez to keep the game scoreless. The one goal he allowed did come in the third period late. Kings had a rare defensive breakdown where all 5 players kind of collapsed deep in the Kings zone. It left a lot of open ice above the faceoff dots. Vegas captain Mark Stone made a real nice pass to William Karlsson, who had all kinds of time and space to pick a corner, and he did. He is also the Golden Knights' leading scorer as well. Otherwise, a solid night for Cam Talbot and a solid night for the LA Kings defensively. I did want to mention, I got a message on Twitter from a listener who basically called me out when I said on a show recently that I was confident that Cam Talbot could get the job done for the Kings this season, that I wasn't surprised with how he was playing. And I know I said at the time that I was totally on board with the Kings' philosophy of getting a good enough goalie, not spending a lot of money on that position, and improving the team around that kind of goalie. And I cited Vegas as an example of how that can work, and you can win a Stanley Cup that way. And for the record, I know I have said 2 things about Cam Talbot: that I believed he could get the Kings into the playoffs again, and that I believed he could regain the form that he had 2 seasons ago when he was in Minnesota, had a very, very good year for the Wild, and got them into the playoffs. And now I did say that it remained to be seen if at 36 years old, he can stay healthy and be a number 1 goalie and carry the load and be a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. I think that question is still legitimate and obviously is unanswered. But what Cam Talbot is doing right now, I'm definitely not shocked. And I wouldn't even say I'm surprised. I thought this was the kind of goaltending Cam Talbot could give the LA Kings. Now, I'm not one of those people who can't admit when he's wrong, but I know I never said that Cam Talbot couldn't do what he's doing right now for the Kings. I know I never said that I didn't believe that Cam Talbot could be a goalie for the Kings that could, again, get them into the playoffs. And again, the one concern I have, and it's been a concern that a lot of people have voiced, probably more than me, is at his age, can he carry the workload of being a number 1 goalie all season long? And again, it's still a concern. I'm very encouraged by what he's doing. Again, I'm not surprised that he can play at this level, but again, it is a question. It's a fair question. And if that's what the person was alluding to on Twitter, then I'll agree with that. At 36 years old, can he be a number one goalie and carry a full load all season long and into the playoffs and get the Kings a deep playoff run? That's something to be concerned about. That's something that's to be seen. But I totally had confidence that Cam Talbot could be the kind of goalie for the LA Kings that we have seen him be so far this season. And I'm pretty sure I was on the record saying that in the preseason. All right, let me hand out my 3 stars of the game. And this is a tough one. There were a lot of Kings that played very, very well. I know a lot of people were kind of signaling Mikey Anderson out on defense for the defense he played up, but everybody played very well defensively. So I'm going to go with a defenseman as my number 3 star of the game. That would be Jordan Spence. 2 points, 2 primary assists. I've said all along, I love his shot mentality. He is always looking for his shot. And I think that really keeps both defenders and his teammates on their toes, knowing anytime he gets the puck on his stick, he's looking to pull the trigger. And I really like that about his game. And obviously he has a good wrist shot as well and a pretty good slap shot as well. So Jordan Spence, for just his second multi-point game of his career, and hopefully the first of many more to come, Jordan Spence is my number 3 star of the game. Number 2 star, I'm going to go with Adrian Kempe. Had a 2-point night as well with a goal and an assist. His goal in the second period seemed to kind of take the lid off of what was a very tight game at that moment. And I thought the Kings looked a lot more comfortable playing with the lead. So I think that was a big goal for Adrian Kempe. He also had a primary assist on the PL Dubois power play goal as well. Good to see the Kings leading goal scorer from a year ago get a big goal and get the Kings off and running in that win over Vegas. And I'll admit it, I'm a sap. I'm sentimental. The number 1 star, I'm going to go with Anze Kopitar. I know it was not his best game of the season. Not that he didn't play well. He did. But, just another solid game from the captain. Ho-hum, what we expect from him. But look, getting your 400th goal and moving into second place all-time in points for the LA Kings, and then icing a big win, the biggest win of the season with the goal. I'm sorry, I got to do it. Anze Kopitar is my number 1 star of this game. By the way, was there anything that we didn't like about that game? I don't know. Trent Yanni's hat, maybe? Have I missed this one, by the way? Did you see this? Trent Yanni, the Kings assistant coach, is wearing a hat on the bench. I don't know what that kind of hat it is. It looks like something like a paper boy in the 50s would wear. Maybe it's like a butcher boy hat, I think they might call it. It's an interesting look. It's odd to see a coach on the bench in a hockey game wearing a hat. Now I know he is bald, and I'm sure his head gets cold during games. I know Phoenix Copley, when he's sitting on the bench, will wear the toque, the skull cap, the beanie, which is a little bit of a different look. But the only time I can ever recall seeing a hockey coach wearing something on his head during a game was for some of those outdoor games that are in the really cold weather and in the snow. So I don't know. I'm being obviously kind of funny, but I really can't think of anything that I didn't like about that game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Special teams came through, solid defensively, solid in net, timely goals, all good. Nothing to complain about from me as far as what the LA Kings did against the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Kings are right back at it tonight, and they still have something to prove, and it could be a very important game for one player for the LA Kings. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. As a business owner, you realize there are times when receivables might fall behind, but that doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, on payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance has helped businesses secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million. Parkview Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might imagine. We invite the many entrepreneurs that are Locked On NHL fans to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071. That's 203-675-0071, or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with their working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com. And Anze Kopitar scores a hat trick and the LA Kings win the Stanley Cup. That sounds good, right? You know what else sounds good? You winning 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with the Sleeper app as the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is the top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can pick more or less based on goals, assists, points, saves, and more. And Sleeper offers 100 times payouts, 100 times. And although we love the NHL, it's not just about hockey. You've got the NFL and college football in full swing. The NBA is also underway as well. Now is a great time to get in on all the amazing sports action. Make the right picks, and you could win big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availabilities. All right, so the LA Kings are right back at it tonight, hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins, and this is still a big game for the Kings, as big as last night's game was, and honestly, it was a big game. I think the Kings still have something to prove, like can they keep this level of play at home? The road streak is great, love it, but the Kings need to be able to play the same way at home, and frankly, they haven't showed that yet. 7-0 on the road, great, but 1-2-2 at home certainly can be better. And time to prove they can get it done on home ice. Plus, I'm going to steal a line from the football coach of my favorite NFL team. The standard needs to be the standard. That's, by the way, Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, last night's game, big for all the reasons we mentioned, but the Kings' level of play, how they play, needs to be consistent no matter who the opponent is. The standard should be the standard. Good teams don't play to the level of their competition. They play to the standard night in and night out. The Kings need to show that they can do that. Follow up your biggest win of the season with another solid game and a win on home ice. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they are not off to the start that many, including me, thought they would be. Penguins are 5-6 on the season. They are currently dead last in the Metropolitan Division. That said, they are coming off back-to-back wins. They crushed the Sharks 10-2 and then blanked the Ducks 2-0. They still have future Hall of Famers like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, solid players, Jake Gensel and Brian Rust. But the Pens are hurting in net right now. Their number one goalie, Tristan Jarry, left the game against the Ducks with an injury. He was replaced by Marcus Hellberg, who did help combine for the shutout win. But Tristan Jarry will not play tonight against the LA Kings. It will be Mangus Hellberg. Mangus Hellberg will be in net against the Kings. As for LA in net, I haven't seen it confirmed as the recording of this show, but I got to believe we're going to see Phoenix Copley back-to-back nights for the LA Kings. It's obviously, I know that Cam Talbot is playing amazing right now, but I think we got to see Phoenix Copley, and I think this is a big game for Phoenix Copley. Now, the team is playing great right now. He's kind of the one component that needs to be up to the level of his teammates. Now, he hasn't played since October 27th when he was pulled in the first period against the Coyotes. His record on the season, 1-0-1, but the goals against average needs to improve at 4.98. The save percentage drastically needs to improve at 788. Again, he's the only player right now where you can point to and say, that's a concern. So if, in fact, he does get the start, which he should, because he can't play Cam Talbot every night, this is a big game for Phoenix Copley. So if you're looking for one thing to really look at, keep an eye on, and watch, Phoenix Copley would certainly be that tonight for the LA Kings. As for the LA Kings, they are hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, 7:30 Pacific time. You can catch every moment of the hometown broadcast of the LA Kings with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search for LA Kings. So looking forward to the Kings following up that biggest win of the season with another win tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins team that, frankly, even though they've played well in their last couple of games, it's a winnable game for the way the Kings have played lately. So again, looking to get right on home ice, looking to follow up a big win, no letdown, another big effort tonight. And if it is Phoenix Copley in net, looking for him to play not a spectacular game, just do what he did all last year, be solid in net, stop the shots he's supposed to stop, and give the LA Kings a good chance to win. Those are certainly the things we'll be looking at and focusing on tonight's game and talking about on tomorrow's episode. And speaking of that, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, tomorrow, of course, we will recap the Kings-Penguins game, and it is another Kings feedback show, Friday feedback show. So if you want to get in any of your questions, any of your comments on what's going on with the LA Kings, you can send an email, lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can just leave your comments below, and I will definitely check them out, pick out some of the more intriguing responses that we have, and read them on Friday's show. We'd also love for you to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, the site formerly known as Twitter, whatever they're calling it, and Instagram. We are at Locked On LA Kings. Excited for that big win over Vegas. Looking forward to how the Kings followed up tonight against Pittsburgh. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Have a great day. We'll talk to you on Friday. And as always, go Kings go.